Hey guys, welcome to episode number 590. Today is Monday, so it's Update Monday, and today we are spending another day back down in the basement working on the Fishroom remodel. It's been kind of slow and kind of quiet down here in the basement with no fish tanks and no fish. However, that is about to change. All of our Zoom Ed Lowboy tanks, 15 tanks, are on the way. We've got an entire pallet of glass coming to us, and it's gonna be here sometime next week. That means we've got to finish the floor, we got to finish the walls, we have to finish the rack, and then we have to take delivery of those tanks and finish the tanks. So it's gonna be a crazy rest of the month, especially because the ACA Convention is later this week. We've got so much going on, it's ridiculous, and I don't know where to start. But we've also got a big announcement to talk about today regarding My Aquarium Box. So before we get started, make sure you hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. And if you want to help support this channel, you can always go check out myaquariumbox.com and betaoasis.com. All right, guys, we got a lot to look at today and a big announcement to talk about with My Aquarium Box. So come along with me and learn how to be a better aquarist. All right, guys, let's kick things off with a special announcement from My Aquarium Box. Now, we've been listening to a lot of feedback lately, and one thing that we wanted to address was people that wanted a smaller box with smaller items for smaller tanks. And so what you're seeing in front of you right now is the very first Nano My Aquarium Box. That's right, this is a brand new subscription for people with freshwater tanks that keep a lot of small tanks. The Nano Box is something that would probably be worth looking at. This is $19.99 and it comes with between $20 to $30 in retail value and free shipping. It's also going to have somewhere around $20 in free coupons and deals from all of our friends of My Aquarium Box. So you get a really good value with the Nano Box. So if you've been on the fence about getting a My Aquarium Box, or if you only have a few tanks in your house and you're not sure how much aquarium stuff you want or need, the Nano Box is a great place to start. So we're gonna kick off this video by taking a look at this box and we'll see what's inside. Now, this is so new that all we have to show you is a white box, but we are planning on getting blue boxes eventually, and those will come very shortly. So what you're going to find in a Nano version of My Aquarium Box is a lot of the same things. You're gonna get fish foods, tools, gadgets, supplies, natural decor items, but everything is a little bit smaller, it's a little bit more compact, and everything is geared to work with shrimp tanks, betta tanks, nano fish tanks, anything that's small. This is going to be great for those types of tanks. I'm talking about anything from 1 gallon up to around 10 gallons, maybe a 20-gallon tank, depending on what you see and what you get. So let's walk through an example of what you might find in a Nano My Aquarium Box. Now, this is only available in a freshwater variety. There's no saltwater variety. A lot of the people that keep nano tanks seem to be freshwater hobbyists, so that's what we're looking at here. And it comes with a lot of natural decor items. One thing that we focus on with the Nano Box is providing natural decor items so you can make very beautiful, very small aquascapes. And we're including less fish food on average in these boxes, and smaller tools and gadgets because it's just gotta fit in a box this size. So let's kick this off, and the first thing you can see here is about a dozen birch cones. Birch cones are great for adding tannins to your water. They act the same way as alder cones would in a tank. They're just a little bit bigger and they look a little bit different. So if you have used alder cones in the past and have had good success with those, with adding tannins to the water, altering your pH, providing a natural environment for your aquariums, and maybe you know, prompting some of your fish or shrimp or bettas to spawn, this is a great option for you to try out. Birch cones, they're not seen a whole lot in the hobby, and that's something that we're looking to change. So you get about a dozen of those. That's good for probably, I don't know, like a 20 gallon tank. You probably want to add like one cone per gallon and just watch it over time, and you'd be surprised how much tannins these things release. So you start slow and then you can add from there. So a good number of cones there to test things out. Now, I did say that we do less fish foods in the Nano box. This actually has 2 fish foods to look at. This is probably the largest fish food item that you're probably going to see in a Nano box, and this is the Betta Dialatrete from Zoomed. I thought this was really cool because it gives you the ability to sample 3 different types of freeze-dried fish foods, and this isn't just for bettas. This can be used for any nano fish species, and you get to try out some Daphnia, some mysis, and some bloodworms. Comes with a nice little scoop, and you just like swing this dial around, and it allows you to scoop out the treat that you're looking for and test it out. So that's probably the biggest food item you're ever going to see in a Nano My Aquarium box, and this is 0.12 ounces of food. So it looks kind of big, but it's actually not a ton of food. What you're more likely to see in a nano-sized My Aquarium box is a sample size food. Some of the feedback that we've gotten is that sometimes we add a little bit too much fish food to the My Aquarium boxes, and that's just because there's a lot of fish food companies out there and a lot of different things that are worth trying out. But sometimes all you need is a little bit of food in order to test it out, to see if you like it or not, and then you can go buy a full-size can online or from your local mom and pop shop or your local fish store. So what you're more likely to find in a nano size My Aquarium box is a sample size fish food, which might be important for some people that don't need as much food. All right, let's look at some of the tools and gadgets in here. We're going to find a small air stone. This is the sphere-shaped air stone, which I actually prefer over the cylinder-shaped air stones. These ones seem to last quite a bit longer. For whatever reason, the stem is a little bit stronger, and they don't pull out when you've got an old piece of airline that's attached to it. So you get a nice little air stone here. That would be good for a 10-gallon tank, which is kind of cool. We've got our mini turkey baster here. So we've got 2 different little tools and gadgets to talk about. Actually, we got 3. Mini turkey baster. These things are awesome for feeding like baby brine shrimp to your tanks. If you've got little tiny fry or live food that you're feeding to your tanks, you can use this to suck that up and then spit it out into a bunch of different tanks. Small in size, so it works really well with a lot of your small live feeds and like live worm cultures and whatnot. Pretty cool little item there. Next up, we have a Brazil nut husk. These have been very popular. People have responded very well to these, love them. We have imported basically a pallet of these things from Brazil. There's a great story to these. Brazil nut husks are the outer casing that is usually left in the jungle. And as you can see, there's 4 little cavities in here, and that's where 8 separate Brazil nuts are located. And in the jungle, the people that harvest these usually just chop them open, take the Brazil nuts, and then toss the husk on the ground. But what we're seeing now is we're able to get those folks to collect these for us, and we're importing those so that hobbyists can actually take advantage of these. These are very dense. They will sink right away. They're kind of similar to a coconut, where you would use them in a tank to provide shelter for your small like bottom dwelling species of invertebrates and fish, and it makes a nice little cave area as well. And it's got a lot of surface texture. It's got a lot of character. So that's a really cool thing to see. So it's a little bit nicer to look at. It's a little bit more unique than a coconut shell would be. So a very cool item there. And these things will basically last forever. They're very woody, they're very dense, and they sink right away. Cool little product there. Next, we have some nano-sized Indian almond leaves for the nano-sized My Aquarium box. It's always nice to have Indian almond leaves on hand. If you've never tried leaves in an aquarium, I would highly recommend that you start with Indian almond leaves and then go looking for other varieties of leaves, because they're out there and they add a nice natural decor to the bottom of your tank. Again, if you've got shrimp or betta tanks, these things do really well, and if you're looking for a black water type biotope, you really can't go wrong. So Indian almond leaves get a lot bigger than this, but these are the nano-sized Indian almond leaves. They're about 5 or 6 inches long. So it's a nice place to start. They won't overwhelm your tank. If you've got smaller tanks, start with nano-sized leaves. The next thing we have here is an air valve, and this is from Zis. And this is a really interesting item because most of the air valves you see in the United States are kind of cheap, and they're hard to operate. The knob is usually very small, and sometimes it gets stuck and it's hard to twist. The Zis air valves have a very large, like oversized knob here, and then it's got really nice threads, like plastic threads, so that you can thread that air line shut or fully open, and it doesn't take any effort at all, and you don't get any like air leaking, and they do a really good job. So if you're looking for something that's a little bit easier to use, try the Zis air valve. Another really cool tiny little item to put in a nano box. And then the last item is another natural decor item. This is a trumpet pod. Again, this is something that's very dense, very woody, will last basically forever, and it sinks right away. And this is interesting because it is sort of like a cave shape naturally, and it allows your small fish, your small plecos, like your baby plecos, your baby crayfish, definitely any variety of shrimp, to sort of get in there and hide away from other predators. So a nice little item there that adds some natural decor to your tank. So if we pack all this stuff back up, what you'll see is we've got a nice selection of items here that it's valued, between $20 and $30 in retail value. And this is a good example of what you can expect in a freshwater nano My Aquarium box. So this is live right now. If you want to go subscribe, you can go to myaquariumbox.com, click on subscriptions, and then you can sign up for a nano My Aquarium box. I don't think you're going to be disappointed, and you're going to get a lot of nice natural decor items like we looked at today, and less fish food and more sample sizes of those things. So if you're interested in that, $19.99 a month is the price point. All of the other My Aquarium boxes are $29.99 a month, so it's a significant discount, and it's just a smaller size box with smaller sized items inside. So for people with less tanks, go check out the Nano My Aquarium box. Alright guys, and this is your final reminder that the ACA Convention, that's the American Cichlid Association's annual convention, is happening this week. It's July 18th through the 21st, and it's happening at the Red Lion Hotel in Cromwell, Connecticut. Now, if you haven't purchased your tickets, it may be too late, but you can always go on the website and check to see if you can register today. Don't wait till tomorrow, go do it today. And if they're sold out of regular tickets, they may still have day passes available. So if you can only make it one day, make sure to go check it out today and see if you could pick up a day pass so that you can go see some speakers or go check out the vendor room or participate in the events for one day. It's better than nothing, but you should definitely go to the whole show next year. And if you want to just attend on Sunday, they have a massive all-species cichlid auction. If you want any type of cichlid, you need to be at the Sunday auction. Even if you don't have a ticket to the ACA's annual convention, you can still show up on Sunday with all of your cichlids bagged up, double bagged, and prepared to enter into the cichlid auction. It's going to be a giant cichlid auction. I hear there are some very, very rare cichlids that will be on display and that will be for sale in the auction. I also think a lot of the fish that are going to be in the competition will also either be for sale or they may be entered in the auction as well. So if you're looking for some show quality fish, some prize fish, some cares fish that aren't available anywhere else in the hobby, you need to be at the ACA's convention this Sunday at the Red Lion Inn in Cromwell, Connecticut. Go check out their website, go check out their Facebook page. Make sure you are there because you do not want to miss it. And while you're there, come check out the My Aquarium Box booth and say hi. Alright guys, and now for the question that's been on everyone's mind since last week. How did the floor work out with 2 more gallons of paint stripper? And as you can see, it did some work, but not enough. On the left, you can see what the floor usually looks like, and then on the right, you can see what 3 gallons of paint stripper did to this section of floor. Now, in last week's video, we put 1 gallon of paint stripper down. It was supposed to be used on a maximum of 75 square feet, and we've got probably around 100 square feet that is marked off here. So it was diluted a little bit and spread a little bit too thin, and as you can see from last week's video, we didn't get very good results. This time we used 2 gallons, which is rated for 150 square feet, and we put it on the same 100 square feet here. And in some places we've got down to bare concrete, and it worked really well. For instance, right here, you can see no paint whatsoever, and it's bare concrete. Super happy about that. But in most places, we've still got some paint that's adhered to the floor, and there's really no way that I could find to lift it up. Even after 4 hours of the paint stripper on the floor, you can see we've still got stuff here. We've got plenty of stuff here in the middle. Again, we've got some spots that are clear, but I think that's just because more paint stripper happened to be sitting there. That's sort of like where it puddled up, like where it pooled up naturally. So maybe those are the low points on the floor. And you can see over here, we've got an example of where when I was brushing this on with the stiff bristle brush, parts of it got down to bare concrete, and then probably where a bristle was and it pushed some of that material out of the way or made it thinner in places, it didn't come up nearly as well. So you can see we've got the bristle marks, the brush marks, all over the floor in areas like this. And then even over here, where it's only one layer of paint and not two like the rest of the floor, there's still areas where it didn't come up at all. Like big areas where it didn't come up at all. So the amount of time and money and effort that has gone into stripping this floor, I don't think it's paid off. And I'll be honest, if anyone is considering doing something like this to their floor before building a fish room, I would strongly advise against going with a mechanical method of stripping paint and not a chemical method. If you happen to have like a water-based paint that's on your floor, you'd probably be okay with a chemical stripper, but in this case I had 2 layers of really thick epoxy based paint on this floor, and it's just turned out to be a disaster. Like, this is probably, what you're looking at is probably at least 20 hours worth of work, and it doesn't really show it from the time-lapse clips, but in order to apply that paint stripper, you have to first put it down, brush it out, let it sit for 3 or 4 hours, and then from there you have to scrape it to remove it. I have a small paint scraper, and actually the best way that I found was to just use one corner of the paint scraper, and that was able to basically scrape the floor and get through both layers of paint, but it took an extreme amount of effort, and I was only getting like one little point at a time, one little scratch mark at a time, and it was damaging the floor. So this was out, wasn't doing a good enough job. We got this giant paint scraper, floor scraper over here, which I think is actually designed for like scraping tile floors and stuff. And this worked okay at removing all of the slime and junk from that stripper, but it didn't do an awesome job at actually stripping the paint that was attached to the floor. So from there, where we went was a stiff bristle brush attachment to a drill. And I was basically hunched over for over an hour with this on the floor, and 3 inches at a time, trying to basically work the floor very slowly to remove the paint. And in some places that worked okay, but it was an extreme amount of work. I basically ruined this tool in the process, and in a lot of places it didn't make an impact at all. So what you're seeing here is probably about a 50% success rate on removing the paint from the floor after all of that effort. And from there, I basically had to mop at least a dozen times, and that involved filling a bucket full of water, mopping the floor, waiting for it to dry, mopping the floor again, and every time in between switching my water. I did add some soap to the water to try to cut down on the amount of chemical residue that was on the floor. And the entire time, for the last 2 weeks, this basement has been airing out. All of the windows have been open, the bulkhead's been open as often as I can, because it just stinks. It smells down here. The chemicals in that paint stripper are just noxious, and it's nasty stuff, and I think it's gonna smell down here for months. So I might just need to invest in some candles, and hopefully that will get the smell out of this basement at some point, because it was just gross, and I'm done. I'm over it. I'm done. I'm never buying chemical paint stripper for floors ever again. And what you see here is the end result of all of that work. So again, I don't think it was worth it. I did try. It was about $100 worth of product applied to this amount of floor, and it really just didn't perform. Now, maybe if I had a sandblaster or some sort of other type of mechanical method to clear this floor, I might do a better job, but again, we're indoors and it's gonna make a giant mess. So I'm just gonna call it a day. This floor has been mopped at least 24 times. I'll probably mop it a few more times and vacuum it as well, just to make sure that everything that is on the floor is removed from this section of floor. And then I'm going to be away at the ACA for the rest of the week, so I'm going to let this entire surface just dry out, try to get it bone dry so that I'll be ready to paint as soon as I return from the show. So this is the aftermath of the paint stripper, and again, I'm nowhere near satisfied with the result. So lesson learned, skip the paint stripper and go straight to a mechanical method. But for me, I guess I got all of the loose stuff off, I would say, and anything that's left on the floor has survived 2 rounds of paint stripper and me trying to scrape it off the floor. So it's pretty likely that it won't come up, it won't peel, and as long as I've removed all of the chemical from the floor, when I go to repaint this, once the surface is completely dry, I shouldn't have any problems. So here's to hoping. And then, the only downside is the rest of this floor is never going to get done with that. I'll have to figure out a different method to finish the rest of the floor at a different time. But that's the story with the paint stripper. Kind of boring, but really informative, and a really bad experience all around. So I would not recommend it. 0 out of 10 stars. Alright guys, I figured while we were down here, we might as well look at the only fish tank in the basement right now and just give you guys an update on what's going on down here with the 300-gallon turtle stock tank. Now, as you guys know, when I moved all of this over, I very drastically simplified the filtration system. So we have one big barrel there with our biologic filtration. Right now we really don't have much mechanical filtration at all, and that hasn't been an issue yet, but we'll just have to keep up with our water changes for the short term until we can figure out something a little bit better. Now, the most important part was getting our basking light set back up and the basking platform set back up. So the water level is still a little low in this tank, but as you can see here, we have a uniseal, so we really can't go much above here in terms of water height. So I can add a couple more, like another inch of water to this tank, but until I seal off this uniseal with a piece of PVC plumbing or something, this is a leftover from having all of our barrels attached on this side of the turtle tank. So that's a drawback of where we're at currently with this tank, but for now it's operational. All of the turtles are happy. We've got a giant colony of anglers that are still in here. We've got a bunch of crayfish and a few fiddler crabs that are calling this 300-gallon stock tank home. And again, we've got a lot of the plastic garland, plastic boxwood garland in here just to provide some cover and some safety for those turtles. And they love to hide. They're probably all under this piece of driftwood. Oh, there they are. Hey. I wish these guys would come out more, but they're either hiding under the driftwood or they're basking, and the second I come down here, they run away. But with those 50-gallon Zoom Ed lowboy tanks on the way, I am considering adding a new species of turtle to the fish room. Now, these are southern black knob map turtles. Let me see if I can grab one while we're talking. These are southern black knob map turtles, and they stay relatively small, but the females still do grow somewhat large, like 6 to 10 inches, I believe, 6 to 8 inches. Here's a pretty good size female. So these guys are definitely too big to put in the 50-gallon Zoom Ed lowboy tanks, but I may be able to put stink pot musk turtles in the 50-gallon Zoom Ed lowboy tank. At least maybe a small breeding group, or maybe just a pair. So these guys will have to stay in the 300-gallon because we have a total of 9 of them in here. And we will work more on this habitat once we have all the tanks and the racking system set up. So for now, this is the turtle tank. They do like to climb up on this basking platform. What I've done here is I just attached it with a couple pieces of string just to keep it sort of positioned right here underneath the basking light, and that just allows it to go up and down with the water level in the tank. So that's what we've done there. Pretty simple setup. I don't have substrate in this tank right yet because I am planning on moving it once we have all of the fish tanks set back up. So for now, this is where it is. It's doing well. Turtles aren't complaining, and they've still got a nice big habitat while we're doing the renovations.
All right, guys, and that's gonna do it for this week's video. But we have a lot coming up this week. We are packing up. We are driving to the ACA Convention later this week. On Wednesday, we will be driving down. On Thursday is the first day of the show, and the show runs Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then it ends with the giant auction on Sunday. I'm going to be there with a bunch of my YouTube friends, and I hope to see you there. I'm going to try to film and live stream every single day that I'm at the show. So if you want to see what the ACA Convention is like this year, make sure to tune in this week. Maybe you'll catch a live stream, maybe you'll see a video next week of the show, but I want to document as much as I can of the show. These things are great opportunities for fish keepers to come together, share stories, share tips on how to breed fish, what's being successful down in your fish room, and to trade and swap fish and stories. So if you've never been to a fish convention, but you watch a lot of aquarium videos on YouTube, this is the next step for you. If you are crazy about fish, and it's good to be crazy about something, if you're crazy about fish and you watch a lot of fish videos, you owe it to yourself to start going to these fish shows. So if you like cichlids, the ACA is the place for you. If you like guppies or live bearers, the American Live Bearer Association is the place for you. If you live in an area like New England, the NEC is the Northeast Council of Aquarium Societies. That's the place for you. There's always something to go to and something to do around the country with fish keeping. So just start seeking these shows out and start going to them. It's easy to start with a local club and then expand from there. And these conventions are really great because there are more people and you get to spend more time talking about fish. So this is going to be a really great show. Later this year, we also have Aquashella Chicago, and we have the Aquatic Experience in New Jersey. So there's plenty of more opportunities to get out and go to fish events. And I hope to see you at all of those shows. But for now, we've got to focus on buttoning up this fish room, buttoning up the outdoor pond and greenhouse, and preparing everything so that we can go away for the rest of the week to the ACA Convention. Hope to see you there. I hope you tune in to some of the live streams that I'm hoping to do during the show, and I'll see you guys later.